All right, we got Ron Da Costa in the house. Ron, who has been working with the Danish prison system for over 12 years.
Just about.
Let's start from the scratch, Ron. You're from the States, Brooklyn exactly. Tell me how it was to grow up in Brooklyn as a child.
Okay, my situation is fairly unique. My mother worked with hotels and stuff. So I didn't just grow up in Brooklyn, I grew up in South America as well. So I've been exposed to the world from a young age. So it's growing up in Brooklyn, favelas in Brazil, Argentina. By the time I was age 13, 14, I had already lived in like 6, 7, 8 countries. So I wasn't your average American kid. So every time I came home, I was the interested kid around the block, the kid that knew different languages and stuff like that. So I never really got drawn into anything. I was always on the sidelines, but rolling with the guys, which is very familiar. But Ron was like in his own world. So that's how it all came to be, that I had access to just about everything because I was the interesting guy.
What about gang activity? Did you grow up around any gang activity in New York?
Back in my days, there was the Jamaican posse. That was the thing. You also had of course, you had the Italian mafia, being from Brooklyn and stuff like that. They were more down by Atlantic Avenue on the way out to the airport, out in those areas there. But the Jamaican posse was what I was more familiar with, because in Brooklyn, a lot of the Jamaicans had moved into Brooklyn. They immigrated to the United States, and then the Jamaican posse started because they had to protect themselves, and they created havoc in Brooklyn at the time.
They were very ruthless.
Ruthless. You're talking hand grenades, you're talking automatic weapons, you're talking some serious stuff.
That kind of violence, did that come with the crack? Or was it also before the crack?
No, that came with it.
It came with the crack?
It just grew.
Okay. Yeah, because I keep hearing about, the States, it wasn't that violent before the crack. The crack brought all the guns with it, all the killings, all, the organized crime, gang activity. It was all the crack who brought it.
Yeah.
Before that, it was
cocaine and all that through the mafia. The mafia never used to touch that stuff before. It's a new generation of mafia that brought in the cocaine.
Yeah.
But the older generation never used to want to touch that stuff. And then they broke the rules, right? There's a newer generation that was coming up that broke that rule.
Yeah. It's the cartels, I think. With the cartels, the weapon came. Before that, we hear about, Frank Lucas, he was working with he was working with himself, but Bumpy Johnson, he was dealing heroin for the mafia. But the violence wasn't that serious. It was not until, the cartels took over the drug control in the States that we saw the heavy guns and the big machines, and the violence just exploded. The murder rate just raised through the roof.
I would say it was kind of like a balance of some sort, because protecting your neighborhood and being a part of the hood was always kind of in the picture.
It was in the picture, but the violence just escalated.
It escalated, of course, because now you had territory. Now you say, okay, we're running this area, we're running this block. Kind of like, you have kind of the same in Denmark now, where you're running certain areas and people are protecting their areas, right?
But that's been for decades,
And
when it gets serious.
do that.
When it gets serious, it's because of money.
Yeah.
When the money involved come, then you see the murders explode.
Show me the money, and I'll tell you where the problem is.
Exactly. How'd you end up here in Denmark?
This round, when I came back now, the first time I came to Denmark, that had a lot to do with American football.
American football?
Yeah, that was American football when I first arrived in Denmark. Most people will know me from the American football environment.
Then how'd you end up working in Vestre Fængsel?
That's when I came back the next time now. So when I came back here...
What year is it?
We talking 2010.
2010.
Yeah, because the NFL, I was supposed to do a program with the NFL, and the contract that was laid out for me was unclear. And my uncle told me, he says, well, the guy at the NFL program told me, he says, if we sign you, your program, your concept belongs to the NFL.
Okay.
So my uncle made me aware of that in the interview. So then I thought to myself, he says, well, what you could do is make sure you make your program visible. And that way you can prove, once you can prove that this concept existed before the NFL took it over, then they can't do that. So I saw the opportunity. I knew Denmark and American football. So I said, okay, I'll bring my program back here. It was Jesper Steinmetz from TV2, who, after I got back from China, Jesper Steinmetz looked for me, I think around 2007. Jesper Steinmetz contacted my aunt. So when I came back from China, my aunt told me, she gave me this note, and it was Jesper Steinmetz. I didn't know who Jesper Steinmetz was. So I called the number, and he took the phone, and I said, this is Ron Da Costa. And he just said, you were looking for me? He didn't know who I was. And I said, bro, you looking for me? And then I guess he kind of remembered, and he goes, yeah. He says, do you remember you made a documentary film in Denmark in 1995? And I was like, yeah, I made a documentary film with Henrik Messen from TV2 at the time. And in that documentary film, I predicted, and I'm the first one that's on record, I have that on my hard drive, that in a few years, you're going to get gangs in Denmark like we know it in the US. And he laughed and he told me, this is Denmark, this is not USA. So that's why they were looking for me now. So Jesper Steinmetz asked me, he says, we want to know how you knew in 1995 that there were going to be gangs in Denmark. And I said, because your pedagogy sucked, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I saw it then. I saw the development coming, so I knew it was going to happen. And then he says, so I said, but I'm here, I'm not in Denmark. And he says, well, he's now the correspondent for TV2 back in Washington.
He is.
So I said, so we have nothing to talk about. And then he says, well, is it okay that my colleague calls you, contact you, because we would like to talk to you still? And then Natasha Kroner, she called me, and then we talked, and then I went to the studio in New York, and then we had an interview. So, nice. And that interview woke up a lot of people that knew me in Denmark. Oh, you still alive? Oh
my God.
And then we started talking again and this and this. And at the same time, that NFL thing came. So that was kind of, are you coming back to Denmark? And then I was like, hey. So it all kind of just fell in place right there for me, right? Amazing. And then I said, okay, I'll make the move.
The gangs here, they didn't start as gangs. This just started as, as hoods, friends.
No, that history I know.
But the police gave them gang names. And then they're like, okay, we're a gang. Then let's do it. They never thought of themselves as gangs. Never.
No, the closest thing I think you had back then when I was here with the American football and stuff, I think it was Blodgodsplats that had some things with, I think, two brothers story. And
but the point is that they never gathered themselves as a gang.
No, it was neighborhood guys.
That's it.
Yeah.
The police were like, okay, we need to put a name on these people, so when we say this name, we all know who we're talking about. And from that, the gangs came.
Yeah, but I even could go further back than that because I understand the psychological evolution, how that developed from when kids couldn't get into clubs. When I came and I was visiting or doing the American football, and you had, let's say you had one kid from Ishøy and he couldn't get into a club, and you had one kid from Nørrebro and he couldn't get into the club, then those two kids had something in common and they would be standing on the corner of the street talking with each other. And then slowly but surely, then there were 6 kids from Ishøy that came to the town, and there were 6 kids from Nørrebro that came to the town. So all of a sudden they didn't need each other anymore, that internal support.
Exactly.
And that's where the territory started breaking off. So it's just a little different to how gangs evolved in the US, right?
I agree with you. Try to describe what your job description is at Vestre Fængsel.
I started off teaching physical education and using physical education as a intervention strategy, as an intervention tool. The head of the school, when he found out from a lady that I believe was working there before, and she told me that she knows this guy who's the head of the school at Vestre Fængsel. He'd be very interested in what you did. So he contacted me, and at that time I was teaching during a sabbatical period from a Professor Reinhard Stelter at Copenhagen University. I was teaching his sabbatical class during his absence. So I invited this teacher from the head of the school from Vestre. I says, listen, what I do is kind of complicated. You might want to come and take a look at it before you think about hiring me or doing anything. And he said, oh, that's a great idea. So we checked with Reinhard, the head of at the school, the director at Copenhagen University Institute for Idrat, and asked him, would this be possible for him to sit in on a couple of classes and look at what I'm doing and what I'm talking about. And they okayed it. So he came in, he took a look at it. He said, we need that at Vestre Fængsel. That's crazy what you're doing. I've never seen nothing like that before. And that's basically, then I got the invitation to come in.
When you came to Vestre, how did the inmates receive you?
I went through a washing machine and a dryer all at the same time. Because when they found out that I was American and I walked into the prison, there was like a chorus every morning that I arrived, and every afternoon it was like they were waiting for me. So they started out, fuck USA, fuck America, fuck you, nigga. You kill Muslims? This was every morning and every afternoon. They knew my time when I was arriving, and they knew when I was leaving.
But they were locked in the cells. How could they?
Through the windows.
So they were like...
Yeah, they would stand, they'll be at the windows in the mornings. And
knowing when you check
to
in
me,
and check
yeah,
out.
because to have that many people yelling, well, I'm not going to say the whole side, everybody, but 30, 40 guys at least.
I think it's the north side of the prison.
The north side of the prison. Every morning I came in, they used to be yelling, fuck you, nigga, fuck America, fuck Bush. You kill Muslim, fuck CIA, you name it. I used to get hammered. But I don't know what the use of it was, because for me, it turned me on. To me, I thought about myself, damn, I didn't even start yet and I got their attention. Because I'm made of a different material than your average, whatever you want to call a pedagogue or whatever. I'm made from a different material. So when that started, I was like, damn, I was happy.
Yeah. I can see it because, you know, when you go into a prison and hang out with murderers and drug dealers, you know, hustlers all the day, yourself, you have to be a strong individual.
I was moved. I was honored. Damn, to imagine at some point in time, I thought, wait a minute, do you realize that guys are actually waking up? They're actually getting out of their bed, waking up. You know how hard it is to get a prisoner out of his bed?
So you didn't get affected by it?
No, man, it was an honor. It gave me a badge. I had a badge. I mean, I'd walk in there and guys waiting for me at 3:30 when I'm going out, they yell and scream. I was like, damn, that's cool as shit. I like that.
Okay.
That was good.
Okay, that's amazing, man. That's amazing. So could you like break down one of your programs? What is it that you do with the guys? Like, for example, like you collect a group of inmates and like, what is the, you know, the content of the program? Okay.
Let's say you're doing when I was doing the sports program, right? I'm constantly, you're not in the environment that you think you are. You're in an environment that is pretty much, the context of that environment is pretty much manipulated. It's beautiful to see how we worked up against the system. Like when we were, due to security reasons, you're down to 4 or 6 people in a class, right? Now, if you want the guys to learn something, you have to understand how their mind functions, how they think, how they move, how they look. You need to understand all of that, and then you need to address those issues. I'll give you an example. I have to pick up some guys to go to the hall, right?
Hall is like the gym area. Yeah.
So I could purposely forget a guy, and we're walking and we reach all the way to the church. Now, you know how important it is for a guy to get out of a cell.
Oh my God.
It's important for a guy to get out of a cell. He's dying to get out of a cell. He's dying to get active, right? So we're moving from what they call no man's land in the middle of the center of the prison, and we're going towards, then we get to the church. It's pretty much of a little bit of a walk. We get to the church, and then I go, oh, damn, we forgot what's his name. And then guys would be like, no, Ron, we can't go get him now, man. We're going to lose a lot of time.
Yeah.
We can't go get him. And I'm like, how you going to be like that, bro? And he's like, what do you mean? I said, suppose I forgot you.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you like me to come back to get you?
It's amazing. Of course.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then we go back and we get the guy. And right there, you're busy learning something, right? Right there, you're busy with situations that they're dealing with, right? And those are some of the examples of how I go about it.
I know that there could be a lot of tension between inmates and guards. And it's not so long time ago, I think a couple of months, 4 or 5 months ago, we heard about an incident where a gang member stabbed a guard in the neck. What do you think, drives an inmate to do such a thing?
Frustration. You're looking at, it takes two to tango, right? So you can't look at it from one side, it takes two to tango. You could have a gang that will say, you know what? We don't care about no guards. We're gonna put down our own rules. You could have a group that will say that. We're gonna put down our own rules. But most people, most inmates will not go down that route, right? So it comes down to a personal thing. Either the guard is unprofessional or it's a frustration on the inmate side due to an unprofessional guard. Because an inmate, like I told you earlier, he understands the consequences of attacking a guard. He understands the consequences of doing that. He knows there's retaliation gonna come. He knows he's gonna get longer prison sentence and all these type of things, and nobody wants to go down that route.
So where do you think, it's very normal, it's a normal feeling to get frustrated. We all get taught that by life. And we all also get put in situations where we deal with frustrations. It's not that often that a man gets frustrated and he just stabs another man in the neck.
No, doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen.
No.
So.
If I was to speculate, I would say it was personal. That basically means that was a personal attack. That means that individual did something to that guy, and that guy retaliated. To me, when I hear the story, it doesn't sound like a random thing that happened. It doesn't sound like it. It doesn't sound random. It sounds personal. It sounds that me and this person had a direct beef. And
that's where I think the problem comes in, because as we talked about earlier, when he comes to work, he has this cap on. Now he's not in the private. This inmate doesn't seek his attention. This inmate, when he rings the bell, the guard comes. He has no other options. So for him, to stab a guard in the neck, I think there has to be some personal
between those two individuals.
Individuals.
Yeah, there's something between those two individuals.
And the point is, could this be prevented by guards being more professional?
Not to defend the guard or anything, but they're as professional now with the training that they're given, and that training is not, they're missing stuff in that training.
Is there different politics, from the gang floor to the rest of the jail?
Restrictions.
I don't know what you call it. For me, it's just politics, because they're all human beings. It should be.
Well, the politic is restrictions, right?
There should be.
That's your politics right there. It's the restrictions.
Okay,
right? My issue is.
No, please answer the question, Ron. Is there different politics, or what you want to call it, on the floor where the gangs are and where the rest of the inmates?
Security, higher level of security.
What kind of security?
That you have to ask the prison, bro.
No, because security, they're all locked in a cell, bro.
But they have to come out to go to classes. So you want them out on the floor as less as possible. You don't want them out on the floor like the other floors where people are just moving. They can't just go from the fourth floor down to the third floor, like the third floor could go down to the second floor. Those type of mixtures. So everything is tied to what they call skikkelse, årti.
You can't move from a floor to another floor without, having CEOs escorting you.
Lockdown.
But that's also for regular prisoner. He can't jump up the floors without being escorted.
But he could be moving around. You're gonna have people a lot more freedom on the
on the floor, only on the floor. As soon as you move out the floor, you have to have escort.
Yeah, that you can't do. You can't go from floor to floor.
But the gangs, you know, they're on their own floor. So
they're on the fourth floor.
They're on the fourth floor.
Yes, and to come in there, what they have, like, if you came in on the third floor and the second floor and the first floor, you don't have to say anything about coming in. When I'm coming into the fourth floor, I have to make sure that the floor is clear, that people don't meet each other. That's all it comes down to. You don't want people meeting each other, because you might have enemies in one section and the other section, and then doors open and all of a sudden you have people meeting each other. And this is what you want to avoid. That's what I'm saying. It all comes down to the security. So you want to minimize that exposure on the fourth floor. You want to minimize that exposure than the leniency you have on the other floors. Because the other floor, I don't have to keep into consideration if I open the door and somebody's on the floor by coincidence. You don't have to worry about that.
You've been in the system for over 12 years. Which gang banged the hardest in jail?
I'm going to give you an honest answer.
Yeah, of course, bro. It's an honest answer.
The gang you hit the hardest.
The gang who banged the hardest in jail.
The one you hit the hardest.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's the one who will bang back the hardest.
Yeah.
If you hit me hard, I'm going to hit you back hard.
Nah,
so whichever one,
Nah, bro.
You
can't answer like that.
Nah, see, you taking me into offices. I really do not deal with that.
But you deal with the gang members, so you know the activity, and you've been there for over 10 years, so you know the activity for over 10 years.
I'm gonna give you...
Which gang has been the most active gang in prisons in Vestre Fængsel for the last decade?
The most active group.
The most active.
That would be LTF.
Definitely, or what?
That would be, LTF would be the most active. But this is also, I just did a piece in Extra Bladder, okay? And though I'm working with all the group, the journalist in Extra Bladder, she wanted to emphasize, which keeps the same narrative, which you're doing, which you're kind of doing
I'm not doing it. No, I'm just not pointing fingers at anybody.
No, but I'm telling you.
No, you could tell me any gang.
They're keeping the narrative of where she wanted, and if you look at the Extra Bladder piece, she wanted Hell's Angels on the front page and LTF on the front page. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, why do you want LTF and Hell's Angels on the front? Because that sells more newspapers. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, but I don't care.
But I'm just telling you.
You could have said some gang we don't even know about banging the hardest. I would have accepted that.
If you want the gang that's banging the hardest, then that's the 179ers. That's the baddest gang in the country.
The 179ers.
The 179ers are the baddest.
What though? I never
and I told this to Hell's Angels. I told this to the guys in my class, not the whole Hell's Angels, of course. I told this to LTF. All of them started laughing at me. But that's the 179ers. I call them the Untouchables. That's the hardest gangbangers in the country.
You mean the politicians?
179ers. Okay, there's 175 of them, and then 2 from each Danish,
the Greenland
and Furnace. So that's the 179ers. Them are the bangers. They bang hard. You can't touch them. Them are the Untouchables.
Yeah.
They run the stuff.
Man, Ron, you're making this difficult for me. You don't want to. You're diverting a little bit from.
I'm just giving it to you real, bro.
Okay. In the gang's eyes, the COs are civilians. They don't treat them as gang members or criminals. So where do these dynamic comes from when you're also saying that LTF is the most active gang?
Where the dynamic comes from, it's being fed into the narrative. Politician helps with that. If I give you a punishment, right? And this is, for Jensen cannot understand this. If the court gives you a sentence, if I give you 5 years in prison, I think you guys say frihetsberøvelse.
Yeah.
Okay? It's frihetsberøvelse. The judge doesn't say, I'm giving you get frihetsberøvelse and you're going to be treated like shit. That's not the sentence you got.
No,
right?
Exactly.
You get the sentence, frihetsberøvelse.
That's it.
But then there's a dynamic in here that have their opinions about you. You might even be innocent, right? But this dynamic in here have their opinion and start treating you this way.
But why do they get educated if they start mixing up, their own feelings? Why do they even send them to school?
Because I can send you to school. I can send you to school, right? But whoever you are will expose itself even after your education.
But the education is like forgiving, they know what kind of work they're going into. the education is like giving them the skill set how to manage these people in jail.
Don't work like that, bro. It's not, you don't have people
Then we
lining
have- then we have a big-
hold on. You
Bro.
don't have people lining up to become prison guards. They're begging people. They need people.
That's okay.
So they're hiring
That's
left
okay,
and right.
bro.
They don't
But
care.
still, if we can conclude that the education that we give these CEOs don't work, they don't bring it with them from school into practice, then we have a huge problem. Then the education don't work. It's like teaching a bus driver to drive a bus, and then he cracks the bus 5 minutes after he puts himself behind the wheel. You know, that doesn't make sense.
What you want them to do?
I want them
They need prison guards.
I just want you to like to recognize the problem if there is one. I don't know. I'm just, you know, from what you're telling me, it seems like there's a problem when you're telling me that the reason why this dynamic is built up between gang members and the CEOs is because of, you know, a subjective thought and feeling. But then I'm like, well, we educate these people to not be physical, because you have to notice that the Danish is like very happy about saying that we treat people equally in jail. We don't, if you're in here for raping someone or murdering or dealing, we treat you all the same, and we treat you with this, what we call human rights. But when you tell me that these CEOs are human beings and they also get affected by what they read in the media and the politics, and they bring that dynamic in with them because they're human beings, are you telling me that we should accept that and just trash, you know, the human rights and the education that the government paid this education? It's a lot of money.
Retraining.
But can we at least be, you know, can we at least, you know, co-agree on that there's a problem?
There is a problem. Lack in training. The training that they're given and the way they're given the training is, in my opinion, not correct. Have your viewers look this up. The Stanford experiment. The Stanford experiment. It's an experiment that they did where Stanford University had students play a role of prison guard by coincidence and had other students play inmate. They had to stop it. They had to stop it.
Yeah,
because it got out of hand.
Of course.
People almost went to fight.
That's why we have education. That's why we educate our staff. That's why we educate the police. Because we are, you know, they deal with people, bro. And people are difficult to understand. So we need to have, you know, a set of rules and a set of teaching that we base our work from. Otherwise, it will all be mixed up in feelings and thoughts.
Yeah, and they do try that. They try it, but it's not going to work the way you do it.
Try to explain what happens to a gang member when he attacks a CEO. What happens in the prison system with him?
The pity is this. I think the system should determine if it's solo, like we talked about, if it's personal between him and that individual.
But let's say, for example, one gang member attacks a CEO. Do the whole gang
that's
floor,
how it goes. Collective.
The whole floor get punished?
Yeah, definitely possible. That's what we call collective. That's what we call collective punishment.
Oh.
That's what we call collective punishment.
Okay.
So you going on lockdown.
Everybody going on lockdown.
Everybody's going on lockdown.
So what about the individual who made the crime?
Then he gets a police report.
That's it.
Yeah, then he's going to get a longer sentence.
Okay. What about the retaliation from the gods?
You got to stick together.
Okay.
If you don't stick together,
yeah,
you have a problem. You got to stick together.
Have you ever heard about retaliation from any gods?
That's a rumor all over the place. That's not no secret. That's a rumor all over the place. So that's not even a secret. That's a rumor all over the place.
It's amazing, man. Ron, let's talk a little about bandepakker. What's your thoughts about them?
A bandepakker is a political reaction that doesn't contribute to anything. It doesn't contribute to bettering a system. It doesn't contribute to bettering the individual, to even waking the individual up. It doesn't do anything except strengthen the individual. If you come with no matter what I do, once you come with a bandepakker, right? No matter what I do, it's going to have very little effect on that individual that's going to get what what they call paragraph 1 okay? If I'm
try to explain to the viewers what paragraph 1 is.
That means double up. I can't get too technical. It's all about during a war, in a war, if there's an ongoing conflict,
any gang activity
and
towards another gang,
and you have a gun in the car during a conflict, all this will be, you could get under bend paragraph 1 and now you got A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's why I call it panic paragraph.
Which double ups.
Which is sentence. Like double up. So you need to ask yourself, okay, if I'm punishing a person, the punishment has to make sense, okay? So I analyzed their panic packer, okay? I analyzed it. And I looked at it like this. The idea behind it, remember in Denmark, you're not only in jail because you are guilty of something, you could also be in jail because they want to keep you off the street. So they could find a way, a lot of the gangs get caught up in that, we don't want him on the street. Give me something. We need to keep him, we just need to keep him off the street until next summer, right? So so all these bandepakkers starts running with these things in their minds, right? Like I'm telling you, if you want paragraph 1 to make sense, what I'm about to say now, don't take it out of context. It's very easy for some intellectuals to try to take what I'm saying out of context. You need to listen very carefully to what I'm saying. If you want the punishment to make sense, right? Paragraph, if you get 12 years for murder as a civilian, sounds funny as a civilian, because a gang as a member is a civilian too. You could only be a soldier and that not be, soldiers call other people civilians, including cops and whoever else. But anyway, the punishment should be the same. Bam, bam. The punishment should be the same. 12 years, 12 years. If you want paragraph 1 to make sense to a person, to give them something to think about, then I would be saying, okay, me and you got a conflict. I drive up on you. I got you. Boom, you're dead. Murder. That's predetermined murder, right? I go to jail for the amount of years I get for murder in Denmark. That's what should be happening. But now I try to take you out, but I miss, and I hit somebody be standing behind you that got nothing to do with the conflict. A mom having a coffee and a bomb hitting the shoulder or whatever, right? Then I go, your action endangered, while you had a conflict with this person, your action endangered a civilian. I give you double up.
Let me tell you something. That's the perfect example, because that's how the NFSA came to life. That's when two gangs were at war and civilians got hit. We had a Swedish bicyclist, a girl, who got popped. We had another one who also was walking. They confused him. He got popped. Then the NFSA came.
And they took it out of context.
Totally.
You needed to keep it in context so that the gang member understands to keep it. If you keep it between you, your sentence, you don't get away with it. I'm not justifying and saying okay for that. But I'm saying if you keep it between you in a responsible way that nobody else gets involved, it makes the person aware. The guy knows, yo, if I run up on this dude, I got to really run up on this dude to do my thing, because it's happening anyway, no matter how I twist it and put it in, no matter what context I put it into, it's going to happen that way anyway. Okay, this guy's going to run up on this dude, boom. But he's not going to stand from over here, boom, 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 and start letting go, and then people get hit on. That makes sense. And a person dies, that's a life sentence. We don't need a court for that, bruh. We don't even need a court for that. So all this anchor and appeal case, and forget that. So you shot this one, you got caught in the case. Yo, bruh, save the court money for other cases, for some real cases. All right? Directly to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect 200. Okay? You done.
Why do we think the politicians keep coming up with these bandekriminalitet? I think we got like 6, 7, 8 or now.
It's the projection that you're trying to give the public. I'm doing something. When I get the F,
what should they gain out of it? When they like giving the
remember when we talked about people fall into habit? Fro Jensen doesn't remember that you already had F. She don't even remember that you got bandekriminalitet A, B, C, and D.
At the new election, she want to hear a new bandekriminalitet.
Yeah, there's a new one.
Exactly.
She's satisfied.
Yeah.
She don't give an SHIT about no prison. Let me tell you, don't mess with a Dane, bruh. A Dane wants to go to work. Don't mess with his money, his free time. Don't mess with his failure and his failure pain. Don't mess with that, okay? You in the jail, he don't care about you. The average Dane don't give an SHIT. She wants to go to work, take care of the family, go to the forening, okay, hookah, and that's it. So you mess with it. I'm just surprised. I'm pretty much surprised that Storbidde didn't get a bigger response, because that threw my theory of the Danish system into the waters. Because I thought Denmark was going to go nuts.
No, it made a lot of noise, bro.
But they changed it. Okay, that's straight up gangster.
Yeah, but she's a gangster too. This
bro,
man. She's a gay. This Mette Frederiksen.
Hey,
like look at the messages. You couldn't find them.
Hey,
I know people in Vestre.
Show me the
listen,
5 years. Let me tell you. Okay, you got fools up in there with phones that the police found 5 years later.
5 years, they detected a message he sold like 5 kilos.
Print out everything, right? Yeah. You got all this type of situation, right? Boom.
5 years ago.
Encrypted phones.
Encrypted phones.
Which is even illegal by European Union's judicial standard.
Now you're talking.
It's not even, but she says, I don't know what the SMSs are.
But what did the police say when they investigated the message?
What investigated what? Case closed, bruh. What are you talking about? Investigate what? Case closed.
Man, she's gangster.
That's my girl, boy.
Yeah, she's
gangster.
Nah.
She got everybody doing this.
Bro, she got everybody on.
Trip walk. What are you? Let me get off my knees. What are you talking about? This girl, this woman could do crip walk, bro. That's what I'm talking about. They said, nah, we need more money in the casa. Put them fools to work.
Yeah.
What? Put them to work. Take away Storbidde. That gives us 4 billion extra. Even though there's 14 million, they found that they didn't even need it.
They took 4 billion. They said we needed it. The week later, they gave the Ukrainians 170 billions.
Gangster, bruh. So what you gonna do?
You can't do nothing.
I just told you, the 179ers, bruh.
Yeah, man.
179ers run the show.
They're hardcore. Ron, tell me, is it possible to control a gang from prison?
If it's possible to control, yeah. You mean outside?
Of course.
Yeah, of course. Why not? You put the word out. If the head guy, even in the U.S.
Yeah.
Actually, the U.S. the officers are in the prison.
Can you explain what happens to a gang? The structure of the gang when one of the shot callers get like 20 years behind bars, 15 years, 10 years, 20 years behind bars.
Gang, that gives you gang rights. That gives you rights. That's what the system don't understand. When you give, when for the same crime, right? If they give me and you do the same crime, they give you 5. They give me 10. Bruh. Shit.
Are you willing to
It's not a thought. It's not willing. It's not. They don't even think about it. They be like this. Yo, you got 5? Dude, I got 10. Everybody else, oh, he got 10. He feels it. He feels people looking at him, he got 10. Talking about growing up and being in Brooklyn, being on the basketball court, I didn't play no basketball, but sitting on the side, whenever a guy showed up who did like 20, 30, yo.
He was the man. Stripes.
Got stripes. That's the street. So their psychology, they do not understand. These people don't have no skin in the game. You got people making laws and trying to address gang behavior, and they don't understand the gang behavior. And what they're doing is just throwing fuel on the fire. That's what they're doing. They're gaslighting.
So try to break it down. Does the gang become stronger or weaker?
Stronger. Stronger. The mentality, stronger. And I'm sitting there with them. They're stronger. It don't even faze them, bruh.
The problem is, Ron, it's an honest mistake, I think, because these politicians hasn't been on the street. They don't know the mechanics.
I like you said that way. Exactly. Let's give the politicians something here through your program. All right? This is what you're looking at here. If I attack it as a group, I need to do damage control. If I have 100 gang members and I let the police go on these 100 gang members, like attack dogs, and I let them go on these gang members, these 100 right here, I create 100 problems, right? I create 100 problems. That's what's going to happen. That's the reaction you're going to get. So I want to do damage control. In the 100 guys, and cutting off the head of the snake is not the tactics, because what I'm saying now, you might think that way. In the 100 gangs, a group of 100, you might have 8 OGs, bruh. 8. Only 8 real OGs. The others are like just hanging around and want to be a part of something or lost or whatever. You only have really 8, bro. Every group got we call them shooters. On the street, we call them shooters, okay? Every group got a limited amount of shooters. Exactly. That's why you could have a group that has 400 members and you got another group that just got 40 guys, but their 40 guys, 30 of them are shooters. And the 400, only 5 are shooters. You feel me? So right there, it's off.
You're destroying a generation, bro.
So you need to treat it as such.
Yeah.
But cutting off the way I just explained it is going to lead to people thinking, oh, so we just attacked those 8 or we just attacked those 9. No. You just need to you need to blanket the whole thing and do damage control.
Do you see more coming out of prison rehabilitated, or do they come out worse?
Right now, not right now, has it been no change. I don't care what statistics tell me. There's no change. I could twist statistics in any direction I want.
The statistics shows that when you become a part of the statistics, you stay a part of the statistics. That means when you get released, in some point you return.
Look, you get worse. Let's get that clear. Okay? Unless you're a gymnasium student who got caught up with some stuff and you get into the school and you continue on your gymnasium thing and you still come out and you can still go to the university and can still study. We're talking about the average guy who's like a criminal in Vestre Fængsel, okay?
Let's say he wants to change. Now he's packing his package. This is his last day in jail. He says to himself, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna get a job, I'm gonna be done with all of this crime.
Yeah, he has to make that decision. There's no one in there that's gonna, the system advocates as if things that they have in place would have made this change. That is not true.
Let's take an example. Let's say, Ron, you did your job perfectly. Your program worked on this guy. This guy has bettered himself. And now his last day in jail, he wants to get a job. He's gonna go apply for an apartment and he's not gonna be a criminal ever again. How do you feel the society receives him when he comes out? When he goes to apply for a job, he wants to get help, to get an apartment. Do you think do you think he gets the help that he needs in order to stay out of the crime?
Yes, he does.
Okay.
If he does one thing.
Let me hear.
Change his name to Inge Støjberg.
Let's say his name
if he changed his name to Inge Støjberg, he good to go.
Wow.
Because you could be gangster criminal and still get into a high position in politics.
Is she out? Is she released?
I think she got 4 months or something like that.
Okay, so she served time. She served time.
Come on now.
She served time.
Served time. What you talking about?
On which floor? On which floor?
That's what I would do. That's what I would do. I would say, hey, I'm what LGBT. I just came out. My name is Inge Støjberg. End the story. I'm changing my name. So all my job answering, I'm right. And they say, oh, Inge Støjberg is coming. Of course, set up the interview.
So what about if it's Ron or Aziz? Or...
You ain't getting no job, man. What you talking about? You gotta be Inge Støjberg.
So let's conclude something with the last question here, Ron. In the 12 years you've been working with the prison system, who's definitely controlled by the government, what have you learned by the society? I need you to be honest, Ron. Because Ron, we spoke a lot off pod, and we agreed on a lot of stuff.
Society is society is unjust.
Do they care about inmates?
No, nobody cares about no inmates. And this is the problem. The problem that we have with justice is self-interest. The problem we have with justice is self-interest. Where does the interest lies? That's it. Okay? If it's against the interests of the public, then we forgive the politician. They decide, they say, oh, we can't let the public know this, or we have to avoid getting this information. And then the inmate gets a short end of the stick, or rather the long end of the stick. All right? They get that because they don't have the contacts, they don't have anybody to fall back on. And Freudiansen is relentless due to the media. Due to the media. That's it. We can sit down here, have every meaningful discussion we want to. Tomorrow morning, everything goes back to normal. Everything goes back to normal. Because human beings are creatures of habit.
We try to make it...
And politicians know this. They know, let it sit for a minute and it will blow over. Look how many politicians do something. They say, okay, you go back to what they call bowling. Bowling. Yeah, go back to the bowling.
Take a break. Take a break.
Let it blow over. And then they bring him back in.
It's nice and slow.
Nice and slow.
It's like they drive him in position.
Bring him back in nice and slow.
That's amazing.
What bowling you gonna go to? What bowling I'm gonna go to? I ain't got no bowling to go to. You ain't got no bowling to go to. You screwed, I'm screwed.
The hood. Going on the block, bro.
And then you come out, and that Socrates is still following you.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And they shut you down.
Yeah.
When they put my boy on ice and they keep him, nice and calm and quiet, right? I mean, how do you want me to work in a prison when a guy could turn on the television and justly enough, I see Messerschmitt, right? Gets convicted. One judge goes on Facebook and writes something, and he says this is a mistrial due to this and this and this and this and this case. Okay, fair enough, mistrial. But the two other judges, I believe my guys, or the guys inside the prison, if two judges, you gone.
They're done.
If two out of three, the other two had nothing to do with it.
No, you're done.
Boom. I sat back and I'm looking like this and I says, he's free the next time it comes around. Because if you look at it, you'll see that his agenda continued on becoming the head guy of Dansk Folkeparti. He becomes the head guy. This continues as if nothing over here ever happens, fully well knowing that he already knew he was going to be released.
Ron, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I really think that You're doing a great job with these prisoners. I think what you're doing is the most important thing. I think what you're doing is you're helping these inmates discover that they're really smart and intellectual individuals.
Oh, them
And that's the main thing for people to recognize about themselves in order to better themselves. I'm a huge fan of your work in jail, and I know the streets are too. The streets speak very highly of you. Whoever I talk to on the streets, like Ron is the man. Ron is the man. He made our time so much easier. So thank you for the good work that you're doing with the youth in prison. And
message to the guys that tell you Ron's the man.
Yeah, he
Tell
is.
them I want to switch places with them.
You don't want to.
Tell them I want to switch places with them.
Some of them
I want them to be the man.
Yeah, inshallah.
That's
inshallah.
what I'm working on. You
inshallah.
feel me?
Inshallah.
I want them to be the man.
Inshallah.
Don't worry
I
about
hope
me
so
being
too.
the man. I had my time already. I'm already moved on already.
But we still need to, like the Danish say, give you your flowers for it.
Appreciate it.
Okay? So I heard also that you were writing a book. Can we hear a little about that book?
That's the bomb. That's the bomb.
I heard you. Correct me if I'm wrong. I heard that the book is gonna spill a lot of dirt on the prison system.
Nah, no dirt. There's no such thing. No dirt. It's gonna open up people's minds.
Facts.
That's that's the whole focus. Not dirt. That's easy. Opening up people's mind. That's what it's about.
That's also why we do this.
When that comes out, it's going to absolutely blow people's mind. The way I've figured out the different tactics and the way I operate and the way I see inmates, the way I talk about sentencing and stuff like that. I even have, I'm pretty close to having Elon Musk on board because he's a little off and I need somebody who's a little off. Using an intellect will stagnate me, it will block me. So I've officially received access to Elon Musk with an idea that I have for prisons with Elon Musk. Because in America, we have this privatized prisons. So I got some concepts. You'll be amazed what you can do with prisoners. Their creativity.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ron Da Costa, a legend. Thank you so much, Ron, for being here. It was amazing.
Peace,
Thank
bruh.
you so much for your time.
Peace.
I appreciate it so much, Ron.
I'll be back after the book is done.
You're gonna give me a signed copy?
I'll give you a signed copy.
You heard that.